Alright, so for today's video, we actually got a bunch of Resident Evil 4 Remake news, so let's get started with the first bit of news, which actually has to do with Famitsu's annual end-of-the-year game company interviews, and they actually featured an interview with Capcom's producer for Resident Evil 4 Remake, Yoshiaki Hirabayashi, who has previously served as a producer for multiple remake projects like the Resident Evil Remake and Resident Evil 2 Remake. And this is what he stated in that interview. Capcom is working hard to provide you with more information about Resident Evil RE4, and in preparation for its release on March 24th. The producer then went on to state that the Resident Evil 4 remake is in the final spurt of the development process and urged fans to wait just a little longer. So I think personally, this actually explains a lot. I thought it was really strange that we didn't get any trailers, no demo whatsoever, no mention at the Game Awards. Well, we did get the whole most anticipated game of the year, but that's about it. I thought that was really strange. Like, the game is literally releasing in a couple of months in March, and yet we haven't gotten anything. So if anything, this actually kind of just tells us that in the coming months, we're probably going to get a whole dump truck of new information, like possible trailers, probably the demo. It's going to be really busy couple of months for Resident Evil fans. Now, the other little bit of news that we just recently got about Resident Evil 4 Remake is that it was just announced that it was actually just confirmed that Resident Evil 4 Remake isn't cutting out the island section. Now, this one's a bit weird for me. I noticed a lot of people on Twitter, or some of my viewers even, were saying that they did not like the island section of Resident Evil 4 and that they wanted it to be omitted in the new Resident Evil 4 remake. Now, to me personally, that makes absolutely no sense. I don't understand how people can say that with a straight face. Now, why would people want the island to be erased from Resident Evil 4? So much amazing stuff happened on the island. Like, first off, we got the whole Krauser fight, which I actually thought was one of the best parts of the game. Second, we got introduced to one of the freakiest enemies of all of Resident Evil history, the Regenerators. We also got that U3 boss battle, which I thought was a pretty good boss battle. And we also get to fight Lord Sadler near the end. So I don't know. For me, I don't really understand why people wanted this to be taken out, to be omitted. I mean, that's what I'm reading. A lot of articles, a lot of people have been saying this, like as mentioned, on Twitter. And I don't know. Let me know down in the comments if you wanted the island to get cut out. Because to be honest, you know, it's one thing to say as a Resident Evil fan that you didn't like the island part of the game versus saying, let's cut out that whole section. Those are two different things. And to be honest, the latter makes zero sense to me. If somebody says they want to cut out the island, it's like, wait a second, are you an actual Resident Evil fan? Because this is weird. Like, first off, you have to ask yourself the question, do you want Capcom to make the same mistake that they did in Resident Evil 3 Remake, where they basically started cutting out a bunch of stuff? I mean, they cut out a couple of sections in Resident Evil 2 Remake, but I honestly didn't mind. But the island isn't a small section. If you start taking out huge sections of the game for the remake, then you're going to get the same thing that occurred with Resident Evil 3 Remake, which is what happened. We didn't get the clock tower in that game. We didn't get the factory area. We didn't get Raccoon City Park. We didn't even get other downtown areas. It honestly felt like a rushed remake, and it's worth mentioning that I did enjoy the game, but there's no denying that it was not a good remake. So yeah, really strange. I don't get this. Now, according to Gaming Ball, the three areas of Resident Evil 4, the village, the castle, and the island, were actually split up into three teams. So three different teams worked on those specific areas of the game, and later on, they basically all helped each other finish up what they needed to do. So that's interesting. That's an interesting way. That's like the most logical way of remaking a game, in my opinion. Now, this is coming from someone that obviously doesn't have any gaming development experience, but to me that just seems logical of going about that whole huge pile of work. Now, it's also worth mentioning, according to Gaming Ball, the developers also stated that they say that the island is going to have a lot more to it than the original game, though they actually did kind of hesitate to answer any further questions because they didn't want to give anything away. So I think that's awesome. I think we can all agree as a Resident Evil fan base that the majority of reasonable fans want the game to have extra. You know, we want to have a little bit more than what the original game gave us. But as soon as you start talking about taking stuff away or changing the whole story, then you're going to have an issue. Because you know what? That actually reminds me. I've also heard a really weird theory going around. I don't know why people have this theory. I don't know the source of this theory, but I've heard people mention this in my comments. And a lot of people apparently theorize or want the Hookman to show up in Resident Evil 4 Remake. Yeah, no. Why would they add the Hookman that was cut content from Resident Evil 4? Like, they took it to a whole different direction. Why would you want Capcom to bring those old ideas back to life? It would change everything. I mean, a lot of those story aspects that they wanted to put in the first vision of Resident Evil 4 actually got taken and reused, and recycled into Resident Evil 5's Lost in Nightmare DLC. So it wouldn't make sense to add all of those things, to add the Hookman, to add the same mansion from Lost in Nightmares, and to add the creepy paranormal paranormal aspect that they added in that Resident Evil, early game, footage that they were basically working on. I don't get it. I don't get where this is coming from. I don't know who's making up these theories, but yeah, that seems really out there, to be honest. And no, I don't feel that should be a part of the new Resident Evil 4 remake. All right, so if you guys enjoyed this video, then make sure to click this video if you guys want to know how every fan feels right now when it comes to Resident Evil 4 remake. Anyways, thank you so much for watching.